Sorry about that. I'm back. I had to grab a Bible.
You're good. Actually, let me close this real quick. Okay, yeah, we could, what argument or evidence do you have?
Well, my, evidence is, creation of humans. And, well, not saying, Earth is what God created or anything. He created everything. Created the universe and the bacteria that formed together.
Right, but what's the reason I think God exists?
Ooh. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, I have to find my notes.
Okay.
Well, we do have, you know how like Adam and Eve were created, correct?
Well, I know this. I mean, I don't believe it, right? I know the story, sure, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to believe it, but there's like
No, yeah, I know
two
the story.
DNA types that we all have.
Right.
Okay.
Well, even most scholars don't read it literally, anyways. They don't even think Adam and Eve are real.
I mean, you don't have to be forced.
You don't actually
to do it.
Well, I'm saying most Christians don't have the view. You don't actually believe Adam and Eve, like the story of Adam and you don't actually think it was first two people like
I
created
believe
by like dust and had incest.
I believe that I believe they were the two first humans, I mean, it's
Yeah,
so they could
like
mate, have children. Yeah, I'm not really a scholar. I'm just a Christian.
I mean, it's kind of funny that you think that incest creates. Well, I can't say that on TikTok anymore, but that
not really
somehow
incest, but like
it was two people first. I don't how was it not? Yeah. How was it not cest?
Well, I know that.
Why is my sticker coming on?
That is a good point.
Yeah, I mean that's just scientifically implausible. I mean, also like just on the hermeneutics alone. Yeah, but I'm saying most scholars don't even believe that story is read literally. Just like on the merit of like, just because you can read it allegorically in various other ways. Just on like studying the way it's written, scholars think that there's just independent motivations to think it's not read that way, right? But additionally, if the science just shows that is not true, that was first two people, I don't know what you would. It's like obviously more likely that we're just reading a text than all of science being incorrect. So obviously, not only do the scholars not think it's read literally, but the scientific motivations just obviously outweigh reasons to continue to read it in a way that even on face value is implausible, given the cess facts and we're literally reading it as like we were created by dust and breath. I mean,
what's the point to say that we weren't made from that?
That's just obviously more implausible than current abiogenesis accounts, like biochemical forming stories offered by the sciences. Like you could just believe in those.
Theory, isn't it? I mean, that's what.
But yeah, it's a theory.
Is.
What is that?
Yeah.
What
is the evolution theory, the Big Bang?
Yeah, what does it have to do? What is having? You're using the phrase "is a theory" as if that's like a threat or something.
Oh no, I'm not threatening you.
Okay.
I was just asking you, like, do you think it's a theory, or do you actually believe in all this stuff that you're saying?
Theory. What do you think a theory means? Of course, there's no way it's not going to be I mean, the proposition God exists is a theory itself. I mean, do you know what theory means? In explanatory theoretic reasoning, a theory is just a proposition designed to explain facts. If you think God explains the fact there's human life, theism is used as a theory right there. Theory doesn't mean it couldn't be proven. There are theories that are just straightforwardly confirmed. They're still theories. Theory doesn't mean like is not substantiated or hasn't met some threshold of substantiated to say it's proved. Theory is just a technical term for the type of inferential strategy, right? And an explanatory theoretic strategy. A theory and explanatory theoretic reasoning is when you just engineer an explanation for a fact, right? God's a theory too. Like if you even read into philosophy of religion, like the philosophers who argue for the existence of God reason theoretically. And they talk about the design theory, right? And the theistic theories, right? And theistic explanations, God hypothesis. They use all that language too. And they think that God is proven by that same strategy. So it being a theory doesn't mean it's not proven, right? Theory just means it's an explanatory story. The type of explanatory story could just be factual. But yeah, that aside is, because I don't want to talk too much about this like stuff. I'm just not really understanding what is the evidence or argument that God exists is supposed to be.
Can I ask you something?
Okay.
All right. So what do you actually believe created all this? What do you think life really is? Because if God didn't exist, there would really no be point in living, would there be? Oh, that's just a harsh...
I'm not sure why you would say that. No, I don't see why you would say that.
Because if there wasn't a God, there'd be no purpose in living. Like, where would you go spiritually after you die? Because we all have souls.
There are many
obvious.
Atheists. It's not obvious. That's actually extremely controversial, philosophically speaking. But even if I affirmed souls, you don't need to think there's an afterlife, and there are actually many atheists who believe in afterlives. The atheism is nothing more than the proposition that God doesn't exist. It doesn't comment on an afterlife. There are people who believe in gods and don't believe in afterlives too. So no, that's just not true. So I don't... First, you can have views like, obviously, I think we give ourselves purpose. Just like if God told me my purpose is X, the only incentive I would have to follow what he's saying is the fact that if I were going to hell or something. But like if like some random person told me my purpose is to like working in a bowling alley or something, like why the fuck would I care what they claim my purpose is? I'm going to do what I want, right? It doesn't make any sense. But even then, supposing my purpose isn't just informed by my values, you can have views like teleological naturalism. It's an Aristotelian view that talks about purpose, and purpose is divorced from our intentions, and that it's like an account of purpose that is understood by merely natural means. So just because God doesn't exist both doesn't mean I wouldn't have purpose. Obviously, I have my own purpose independent of whether someone gives me purpose. But you can still have views that things give you a purpose without there being like a divine mind. And yet you can also believe in an afterlife. So none of that's true. Can we not spam? It's fine if you want to like use cross emojis. Let's not get out of hand. YouTube chat always misbehaves. But yeah.
Completely understand what you said, but
I mean, I don't have any independent reasons to think of that afterlife stuff. It seems like people always use that rhetoric, but it's not a matter of like what is more satisfying to believe. It's just like what I have more reason to believe. Like, yeah, I would love to. Well, I don't know if I would actually. I don't think I want to live forever, anyways. To be honest, genuinely, I do not. I do not value loving. I do not value living forever.
You're gonna be sitting, but you're not just going to be sitting there on a cloud all day. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. I know what the story offers.
All right, it's all right. All right. So it's not.
We don't need to go through what the theology describes. I'm just saying, as of now, if I had the choice between just ceasing phenomenal experience after this bodily death versus going to either Christian afterlife or some variation of afterlife, even of my choice, I think I would genuinely choose just to cease. I guess that kind of is contingent on my future experiences, right? If I thought my life is not fulfilling, or maybe I would want more or something. But as of now, I think I just don't value living forever. But yeah, that aside, none of these are consequences of atheism. It's just usually like a kind of biased framing apologists use. None of that's true. That like there's no purpose in no afterlife.
Like
I don't have
a
view on whether there's an afterlife. I find those claims
that's
be something I'm not sympathetic to. Yeah, I'm not sympathetic to those claims, but I don't deny them. I'm indifferent, but I'm actually more sympathetic to there not being an afterlife. It just strikes me as more plausible that there's not an afterlife. But yeah, I mean, that really doesn't turn on...
That's just even more fearful than...
What?
Like, isn't that more worse than living forever? Just think about it. If you die...
No.
Like, it's... Like...
Maybe for you, I mean, my values are just that I don't have an interest for living forever.
Huh.
Right. Maybe for you that would be morbid. I mean, it just depends. That's just relative person to person, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just based on your perspective on this world, I guess.
Right. I mean, Just Axe, Deadpool, and Wolverine. There's like whole comic books dedicated to how they're like depressed because they can't die. But in any case, yeah, I mean, I don't see how I understand Christianity bakes in that there's an afterlife, but that's kind of still like a separate issue. And even the hermeneutics is kind of strange on how you interpret the afterlife from Christianity. Especially how, I mean, it's not really clear what hell is supposed to be on Christianity. But all that aside, I just don't have reason to think there's a God more generally.
So you don't, why don't you believe in him? Like, were you raised Christian, or like did you leave it? Like, when did you become?
I was an apologist
atheist?
for some time. Yeah, I just started studying into philosophy of religion for a bit, and I just found it incredibly unconvincing after some time, and finding a couple of debaters.
What religion?
Too.
What religion were you in before?
Christianity.
Oh, which denomination?
For most of my life, I was Pentecostal, but for a couple, like a month or two, I was non-denominational.
So did you like have weak
Here
faith?
Comes the search for
a lot,
searcher. No, I didn't have weak faith. Quite the opposite. I was an apologist. I used to argue on the internet for the existence of God. I was reading into philosophy to better defend theism, and at the same time watching.
What made you switch? Like, I know that
there were several arguments. I mean, yeah, I mean, the arguments I had, I felt were successfully sweeped, as well as there was like arguments for against Christian theism, like the LPOE, logical problem of evil. There was also, well, there's an argument that my friend Jack has that I've heard that also, at the time I watched on YouTube from a YouTuber named Daz, uploaded it, about God being omniscient and failing to satisfy externalist conditions and various other things that dispersuaded me from theism, in addition with all the arguments I had available were like, I recognized were actually completely beat up, even though like eventually more arguments I was introduced to were good and better or whatever, but as of now, I don't think really any arguments for theism succeed. I don't even think any of them are strong by any means.
So I
think they're all terrible.
So did you believe that God was one? Like, did you believe that the Holy Spirit, His Son and the Father were all connected together?
I was a Trinitarian, yeah. Well, I'm not really sure what you're asking. If you're asking me if I'm a Trinitarian, then... Also, real quick, I have a $10 dono from Zcorpalfa2462. I don't know how to say your name. Who gives a shit? Shit. We all find out eventually. Silly face, middle finger, 4-leaf clover. Thank you. Thank you a lot. Thank you for the $10. But yeah, what he said. So yeah, I was a Trinitarian, yeah.
All right.
Are you Unitarian?
Like,
or what is your view?
my view is I'm also a Trinitarian. I was raised Southern Baptist.
I actually don't think I think the LPOE, or sorry, LPT is also a problem. I've heard. I still don't. I think there's some, or at least potential, escape hatches. There's like things called relative identity theory, which I still don't make sense of as of today. But I never even heard of them back then. And given like the LPT,
I was wanting to convert to Christian Orthodoxy, for how it's kind of weird down here, because most of the stuff my mother told me about all this stuff.
Right. Well, I'm not sure where to go from here. If you don't really have any arguments or evidence, I think I have another guest, actually. Let me make sure that's right, because I do have another guest. So if you do have an argument or evidence you want to lay out, I'm down to hear, but I don't want to take too much more time because I do have another guest, and there's going to be a potential other guest coming up.
Well, I don't want to waste your time, so I'll go ahead and leave if you want. But all I have to say is I'll keep you in my prayers. Do you know do you think you could tell me your name?
Yeah, my name is Jamar.
Jamar. My name is Ethan.
All right, word. Nice talking, Ethan.
All right. Nice talking to you, Jamar.
Jamar. Like Joe and the planet Mars. Alright. We got another 10 dono from the same guy, Z-Core Palfa. Southern Baptist Mary. They're sisters. I actually have no idea if that's true, but that's pretty disgusting. But again, divorce the practices from the religion, unless the religion condemns that. I mean, I don't know. I just found out that it says in the Bible, God told people in the Bible to cannibalize others. I actually just found that out from what's his name, Justin Deconstruction. I think it's Galatians 15, if I'm not wrong. But yeah. All right, next guest, Matt. You know, it's funny that there's nothing actually that makes my stomach quease more than the thought of cannibalism. I actually think that's something like the most like disgusting thing to me.
Hello.
Yeah, what's going
on? Can you hear me good, or is my Wi-Fi a bit laggy?
I can hear you well. People on Discord, you're not going to be able to hear me. I'm going to just mute up real quick. I'm going to talk to this guest. Yeah, I can hear you fine. You have evidence or arguments God exists? People on TikTok, get to 10K likes. What are we doing? Share and repost. Are you there? Okay, now you're... yeah, you cut out there.
Hello? Alright, yeah, no, I was switching over to a different Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So I'm gonna run the modal ontological argument. If you know it, if you have any objections before I say anything.
Yeah, I know the way already.
Happy to just hear them out.
I mean, first, yeah, I mean, the argument's obviously question begging. I don't know if that's not pretty obvious, but I guess my interesting questions are: how do you respond to Ganilo problems?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
How do you respond to Ganilo problems? Or sorry, I guess that's hold on. I think that only applies to the ontological argument. Yeah, so well, I don't even understand what metaphysical modality is, so that's the real first issue here.
Bro, I really can't explain that to you in a TikTok live. It's so much. Yeah, you'd have to do your own research on that.
Do you understand? Is it a premise in the argument that God's possibly necessary?
Yeah, if he exists,
possibly
if
necessarily exists. Yeah, the argument's question begging.
If he doesn't, okay, if he doesn't contradict any laws of logic, then it is possible in a possible world that he exists, correct?
Do you understand what S5 is saying, right?
Yeah.
What is S5 saying?
S5 saying in one manner. I've not yet moved on to the S5 part. I'm saying if
yeah,
a
but that's what I'm
necessary
charging with
being
question
exists.
begging. I'm saying it's question begging in virtue of S5. Because S5 states that possibly necessarily P is identical with necessarily P. That's what the axiom states. And the reason why that is that it's actually trivial, because possibly necessarily P means from a possible world. If P is accessible in all possible worlds, then just in virtue of accessibility relations, it's just stated that it's accessible from all worlds from a possible world. Then P is just necessary, right? And it's kind of trivial, right? It's no different than saying P is true in all possible worlds. So that, and it just states they're logically equivalent. So the proposition or the premise in the argument stating that God is possibly necessarily exist is no different from saying God necessarily exists.
It shifts from possibility to probability through
probability.
Sorry, from probability to possibility through S5. So I'm just gonna say my premises. If you have a problem with any of them, we can debate on that. Because I think I'm a bit confused here on what you're saying, actually.
The MLA does not talk about probability. It's an ontological argument. Yeah. Ontological arguments are a priori arguments.
Yeah, I know. I think we're completely disconnected here. If I could say my premises, actually, that would be better, considering I don't think we have the same thing in mind.
Okay. Sure. What are the premises?
So premise one, it is logically possible that a maximally causality efficacious being exists. You have a problem with that?
I'm not going to tell you what I have problems with yet. I want to get the entire inference before
tackling
any premises.
Is it fine if I just summarize that into MCEB for easier saying?
I just want to know what the premises are.
Yeah, I'm just saying, is it fine if I shorten that so that it's easier to say?
I'm not sure. I don't know what you mean. You mean instead of saying...
abbreviate it. I'm saying, is it fine if I abbreviate it?
You could just say P1 if needed. Like if P1, then...
Okay, all right. Here. If MCEB... if a being is MCEB, it must... Okay, as I had said before, it's maximally causality efficacious being.
Maximally causally efficacious being exists?
Yes.
Okay, if a maximally...
It must possess power by necessity of definition. Necessarily of that definition, sorry.
Then it must have power by definition.
All right, premise 3. If it is possible that any MECB exists, no, wait, sorry, I'm confusing. If it is possible that a necessary being exists, then it must exist in at least one possible world. So if it is not illogical and doesn't violate the laws of logic, it must exist in one possible world.
Okay, we don't need a premise for that, but right.
Okay. A lot of people disagree on that point, but yeah.
Well, that's just what possible means, true, at least. It can't be possible and not be in a possible world.
Yeah, a lot of people disagree with that point. I had to make it a premise, and at least for myself. If MCEB exists in at least one possible world, then by premise 2 and 3, following premise 2 and 3, it exists in every possible world.
Given premises 1 through 2, it has...
No, given premises 2 and 3.
I didn't write I'm writing out this as the third premise.
Sorry, say again.
I'm writing the third premise right now. I'm confused. The premise: if something exists in one possible world, then it's possible. I didn't write that down.
All right, sure. Sounds good.
So given premise 2.
Given premise 2, and also if a necessary being exists, then it must exist. All right, yeah, that's already good. Premise 5, if it exists in every possible world, it exists in our actual world.
Okay. All right. We don't need a premise for that either.
Again, you would be shocked by some people I debate with.
No, that's just a trivial truth.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just found it easier to actually make that a premise, even if it's unstated.
So the conclusion is that a maximally causally efficacious being exists?
Yeah.
So let me read through the premises again. It is logically possible a maximally efficacious being exists.
Yeah.
Premise 2. If a maximally causally efficacious being exists, then it must have causal power by definition.
Yeah.
Premise 3. Maximally causally efficacious being exists in at least... Oh, no, I wrote that wrong. Exists in at least one possible world, if it exists in... If a maximally causally efficacious being exists in at least one possible world, then it exists in all possible worlds. Therefore, a maximally causally efficacious being exists. Yeah, I don't accept P... Well, I don't accept... Hold on, this is strange. I accept P3, I don't accept that. I don't see why I would accept it exists in all possible worlds. How are we getting there?
From one possible world to...
This argument's not valid.
How so?
Well, I mean, it's obviously not valid if you regiment it into symbolic logic and prop logic, but I'm not sure. I don't think this is not even valid in first order logic too.
Again, how so?
What, do you want me to just symbolize it for you in first order logic and show you how it's not valid? I mean, sure. Surely you know how to do that yourself?
I mean, might be because I'm speaking it out. This is my first time actually speaking in a live, so I'm tripping over my words. But sure.
Okay, I'm writing out in prop logic right now. Yeah, so I wrote it out in prop logic. And we could then go to first order. The argument's form is premise 1 P, premise 2 if Q then S, premise 3 if P then T, conclusion F.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Yeah, the form goes premise 1 P, premise 2 if Q then S, premise 3 if P then T, conclusion F.
Did you include in which I said if it exists in at least one possible world, then by system S5 it exists in all possible worlds, as it's a necessary being?
Okay, I didn't... Yeah, let me write that. It is possibly necessary, maximally maximal causally efficacious being exists, then necessarily maximally causally efficacious being exists. Okay. So then then all these premises are kind of superfluous, because now the form would be wait, actually, I don't even know if this is still valid. If R, then yeah, this argument is not even valid then. Still in prop logic.
All right. You don't need to say it one more time without the premises. Just makes it easier to understand. Then.
No, I understand the premises. It's just that the argument's not valid. But yeah, I mean, this just turns on this necessity stuff. Obviously, I would not accept that's logically, that possibly necessarily God exists. Obviously, I wouldn't accept that.
Could you give a reason why it's illogical that he does?
Yeah, because that's identical to saying necessarily God exists, and I don't accept that statement. If the modality in fact, you said you're using logical modality, which seems strange which modality we're using. Are we using logical or metaphysical? But if we're using logical modality, then it's just false that God necessarily exists.
The God necessarily exists factor comes in after. So you're taking premise 5 before premise 1. You have to establish that it is logically possible that it must exist before you move on to the part that it does exist.
S5 literally says possibly necessary equals necessarily P. Possibly necessarily P. Right, so those are just synonyms. They're not saying anything different.
It's logically impossible based on the fact that it can move from impossible to possible. I mean, from possibility to reality.
No, I don't know if you understand what S5 is saying. Possibly necessarily P means from every possible, if from some given world, a particular given world, the proposition P is accessible in all worlds, then P is true in all worlds. That's what S5 states. So it's literally just saying possibly necessarily P is identical to necessarily P. So to say possibly necessarily P is just a synonym with necessarily P. So possibly necessarily P is the same as saying God necessarily exists. Right? And that's just not true, especially if the modality is logical. That's just obviously false. But if it's metaphysical, it's not clear how that's true. Given I don't understand metaphysical modality. Yeah, if the modality is logical, then it's just false. But I wouldn't understand how that's true if the modality is metaphysical, given I don't understand that modality. I mean, it's obvious that the proposition God exists is not necessarily true, logically necessarily true, right? Because no propositions, no existential propositions are necessarily true.
No, if it's illogical, if it's not logically possible, then that means it has to contradict a law of logic in some form or manner. Like, for example, it just means it's not
it means the sentence not a tautology. The sentence God exists is not a tautology, right? It's just in
I'm
logic,
saying
it's just
not logically possible that he exists, not that he doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's not logically necessary is what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not logically necessary God exists.
I'm not talking about logically necessary. I'm talking about logically possible.
But why? But the argument doesn't talk about logical possibility. Or well, yours does, but that's not what S5 is talking about. S5 is talking about possibly necessary. Possibly necessarily P. That's not the same from possibly P. That's a synonym with necessarily P, possibly necessarily P. They're saying the exact same thing. It's not saying, I don't know if you're making this very basic, and it's very basic because if you just think about it, it's incoherent. S5 is not saying in some possible world, in all possible worlds P, right? Obviously that's incoherent.
Yeah.
In some possible worlds, in all possible worlds P. What it is saying is that from any particular world, P is accessible, then it's true in all possible worlds. If I choose any particular world and P is accessible, then yeah, P is true in every world. It's a synonym. S5 is an axiom stating that possible necessity is the same as necessity. So to affirm possibly necessarily P is to affirm necessarily P. They're not saying anything different. And I don't accept the proposition God is necessarily exists. In fact, that's just trivially not true if the modality is logical.
All right, fair enough. I mean, the way my argument was meant to go was, if it's logically possible in one world and it's a necessary being, then it must logically be possible in all worlds.
But we don't disagree that obviously God's not logically necessary, right? We understand how that's not true, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man.
It's 2026 though, and we're running mono-ontological arguments.
I mean,
you know, it's funny if you look at Phil's survey. There's a survey amongst theists, and about arguments for theism, and the ontological argument is actually considered the worst. And I'm not joking. I actually have the survey on my phone. The second worst is the mono argument, and yeah, the ontological argument is actually renouncedly considered the worst argument for theism. Ontological arguments as a class, which includes a mono-ontological. But yeah, I mean, they're all like question-begging arguments.
All right, sure. Failed to get my point across. Yeah, maybe I'll join the next live, try be more coherent, shit like that.
Sure.
I think, yeah. All right, sure. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, all right.
Peace out, Ming. Let's see who we got on Discord. We have people in the... people on Discord, I don't know if you're here just watching or whatever, but if you want to talk with me, you got to raise your hand so I know. In any case, people watching on YouTube... Whoa. What is going on? Are we not live streaming on YouTube? Oh, we are. What is going on? My whole thing's glitched. Let me make sure I'm actually live. Because it shows there's a live chat from YouTube on my... Yeah, we're live. What in the helly? Okay, well, everyone on YouTube, give the live likes so we could get people in the algorithm. Subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't already. People on TikTok, too. Gotta get people up. And yeah, now we have 3 people. People on YouTube, if you want to talk, join the Discord. It's in the description and pinned. We got some people on Discord. Let's see. Vac.
What's up?
Hold on. Why does it always do this? Okay. Yeah, what's going on? You got evidence or arguments God exists?
Okay, before I say anything, I have a question for you. Okay, it's just a very simple question.
Okay.
Do you actually, like, are you curious to see if God exists, or are you just here to prove that he doesn't?
Am I here to prove he doesn't? Well, I'm quite confident God doesn't exist, and I'm just here to challenge people's reasons.
But, like, I'm asking what you want, not why you're here. I'm asking what you, like, do you want him to, like, do you want to search for him, or are you just here to say that, like, he doesn't exist, and I'm going to challenge you because I don't think he exists?
No, I'm not searching for him. I don't think he exists.
Okay.
It's like saying I'm searching for Superman. Wow, I have good reasons to think he doesn't exist.
What are your reasons?
I could go through it, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a bit of a ride. I don't know if you want to buckle up for that. I'm completely fine to go through it, but are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah, sure. So let's try and do this. I did it. It was super successful until the end, but I was able to get through the whole thing with someone. They just became dishonest at the end. But it uses something called Bayesian confirmation theory. Are you familiar or no?
I am not familiar with that, no.
Okay, well, it's a type of epistemic probability apparatus. And I'll just go through why atheism is more likely than theism, given the tenets of this type of probability. So let's go step by step through it. So first, let's start with understanding the concept of bare theism. Bare theism is the most general concept of theism. It's the bare bones conditions that are sufficient to satisfy the proposition God exists. It's not any specific theism, right? It's not Christian theism. It's not Islamic theism. It's no particular theism. Those are more specific archetypes of theism, but there's a more broad concept of God that they fall in that class, right? There's a class of God, and the Christian God is a token of God, but God encapsulates all basically variations, right? The possibility landscape of God is completely accumulated by God. It has like a collection of the God hypothesis. Basically, is the collection of all these individual variants. Okay. So hopefully we understand that. There's a question about whether the prior probability, so the probability before any new information, favors theism, bare theism, or atheism. In fact, there's a further question that, given naturalism is a subsumption of atheism is more broad than naturalism. There's actually controversy considering whether or not the priors are a favor of theism or naturalism. Right, and that itself is an incredibly difficult challenge for the theist to overcome, showing that the priors in bare theism exceeds naturalism. But let's talk about why this is threatening for theism. So, typically, you want to reason in a way in which you have something like Christian theism, right? Or maybe you're not a Christian, but you have some type of particular concept of God in mind. He's not the generic God. It's a more specific God. And that's done because when you add specificity, you get a net of expectations. You know, like, for example, the Christian God has the condition or the specificity that, he answers prayers. So then you generate the expectation that if I pray in the name of God, I will, imagine like my leg is broken and I pray in the name of God and my leg is healed. That's evidence for Christian theism, because Christian theism generates the expectation for that fact, but at the cost of the specificity. Now, the reason why I'm using this cost language is because something in probability called the conjunctive inequality penalty. It's a type of penalty called conjunctive inequality. And it sounds, scary and technical, but it's very simple. It's just that when you conjoin propositions that take a non-trivial probability, or maybe not even non-trivial, but a probability greater than 0, that the probability of the conjunction is less than, right? And this is, pretty obvious because, the probability is a maximum of 1 and the lowest is 0. So when you multiply decimals, because only a probability of 1 is exclusively for like theorems, right? Like tautologies, and, 0 is obviously for sentences that are impossible, like contradictions. So any proposition that's neither a theorem nor a contradiction is neither 1, neither 0, right? So it's in between. So, when you multiply decimals, you have, it becomes less likely. And just to make this intuitive, if I have the proposition out of a bag, I pull an object that's specifically a jelly bean, there's like a possibility landscape of objects you could pull from that bag and not knowing what's in the bag, right? Assuming at least there's something in the bag, right? And let's say you pull a jelly bean. Okay, well, you're going to assign some probability to you pulling a jelly bean. You could pull something else. You could pull a chip. So you distribute the probability amongst the possibilities in the landscape. So we have some probability you pull a jelly bean. Let's take another proposition. The probability I pull an object in the bag that's red, right? That's also going to have some assigned probability. But the conjunction is going to be less than, right? It's more likely I pull a jelly bean simpliciter than I pull a red jelly bean, right? Because there's other color jelly beans, you know. And it's more likely I pull just a red object than I do a red jelly bean. There's various objects that can be pulled from a bag that are red that are not a jelly bean, right? So the probability of a conjunction is going to be exceedingly lower. Now, given that, Christian theism is a conjunction of many propositions, close to 100, maybe even close to 1,000, many individual historical claims, miraculous claims, aseity, Trinity, and or Unitarianism, aseity, I guess you could consider resurrection miracle, divine providence. I mean, there's like a load of propositions. So if you were reasoning to theism and you were to get evidence for everything in Christianity, at least that's not question begging, right? Meaning like something that just entails or, you know, assumes the very conclusion. If I like accept all the like information, like Jesus did miracles and all that stuff, that does not get you to theism. And that's because the probability of Christian theism, given all that evidence, is still going to be less than the probability of bare theism. And the reason why that is because bare theism includes just all variations of God, right? It's possible there's a God that doesn't have a son who is Jesus, right? So that's at least a possibility. So the probability of that is at least greater than 0. So the probability of Christian theism, given the evidence, plus that particular variation of God, a God that doesn't have a son named Jesus, is obviously going to be more likely, right? And there's, you know, various other variations of God you can consider, because bare theism does not have any specificity. So it includes all those other specific gods. So the probability is just going to be a bare theism, can't be exceeded, nor would it even be equal to Christian theism given all that evidence. So even if I justified all of the propositions in Christianity that are not question begging, the bare theism is still more likely. So the only way you can actually rationalize theism is to motivate the priors in bare theism. But that's where the challenge lies. There isn't very good arguments to even show that the priors exceed naturalism. And naturalism is a subsumption of atheism. If you cannot show that the prior probability, so the probability before any new information, so like an a priori inference, an inference without any unique information, like information we already have in the background, no new information. If you can show how bare theism is more likely than naturalism, or if you can't show that bare theism is more likely than naturalism, then you're actually rationally obligated to be an atheist, because the probability is trivially greater on atheism, given naturalism is shown to not be less than or greater than, right? Given the principle of indifference and probability, you would have to assume at the very least the probabilities are roughly the same. And given naturalism is a subset of atheism, so the probability of naturalism is less than atheism, then the probability of atheism is greater than naturalism, and the probability of naturalism is greater than is equal to theism, bare theism. So bare theism is less than atheism. So that would actually rationalize atheism.
So you're saying since the probability side of all that info is based, or is tied to atheism, like atheism has more probability, and if I can't prove that everything that is on the side of God existing has more probability that it doesn't exist. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying if you prove a specific archetype of theism like Christianity by just justifying the particular commitments it already makes, then you're actually not making theism more likely. You're undoing prior probability debt. Because like said, the specificity makes propositions less likely, just like a red jelly bean is less likely than a jelly bean, more generally. Each additional proposition that constitutes the continuity of Christianity, which is, you know, a bunch of the stuff I listed, like aseity, historical facts, miraculous facts, and various other stuff, those things are going to make, you know, Christian theism far less likely than just bare theism, just that there's a God more generally. And if I provide evidence for those particular commitments, like if it makes a historical claim and I show the historical evidence for it, that only undoes its debt. So if I give evidence for everything in Christianity that doesn't assume its very conclusion, then the probability is still less than bare theism. So if I don't believe in theism, then all that evidence for Christianity doesn't actually show why I should be a Christian, right? Or sorry, why I should be a theist more generally. Because if I don't already believe in theism and all you do is show that Christianity is less than bare theism, that's the very best you could do, and I'm already not a theist, then I'm not going to have any more reasons to be to be a Christian, right? I'm not going to have any reasons to be a Christian if I'm not already a theist.
Well, so what I'm wondering is, what actually caused you to go down this debate path? Do you want factual evidence that he does exist to be able to believe in him?
I don't want to believe in stuff. I just believe what the evidence takes me to. That way,
so you just look at the factual evidence, basically.
Right. I just look at what the evidence shows.
Okay.
Right.
Well, people have found things at the crucifixion site that's there.
Right, but that just goes back to the thing I said. Right. The evidence of stuff at the crucifixion site is just one small thing. I already said, if you justify everything in Christianity that's not question begging, trivially, it's not going to be more likely than bare theism. That's just like a necessary fact given tenets of probability, right? A more specific hypothesis cannot be more likely than a more generic hypothesis. And given that's true, then if I don't already believe in theism, then I wouldn't have reason to believe in Christian theism. Because yes, you made Christian theism more likely, but obviously no more likely than bare theism, which I already don't accept.
Okay.
Kiki, shut up. And Mbotu, or however you say your name. Imbecile.
Wait, are you on 2 separate calls?
No, this is my chat. They think they're funny.
Oh. Okay, well, I'm not really good at debate at all. I just came here because I felt told to. I just want you to give it a try. If since you do have free will, so it's not like I can't force you to do nothing. So I'm just asking you to give it some of your time. I felt pushed to ask you to read Proverbs, just the whole book of Proverbs.
I mean, I've read the Bible. I used to be a Christian. I mean, reading the Bible is not going to get me closer to God. Yeah, I used to be an apologist. I used to debate for the existence of God.
So what changed?
Like I said, the evidence swayed me otherwise. When I get reading into philosophy, it just became apparent that theism is like incredibly.
Did you ever actually have a relationship with God? Like, have you spoken to him and he's spoken back to you? Like, you knew you were communicating?
Well, I've never literally heard a voice, if that's what you mean. But
no.
I used to.
That's not what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I used to pray regularly, and I would, see things come to fruition that I thought was God being responsive, if that's what you mean.
So why, if you've seen that, if you've been through that, why are you going this direction? What caused you to, like, what?
Yeah, I mean, this is always the theist rhetoric. It's like, I don't understand. Why are you not going to God? I mean, I just explained, like, what I just gave you was, like, pretty much the philosophical nail in the coffin for theism.
So God, let me get this straight. So you have seen God himself, like, respond to you. And then you're saying since other evidence is more. Like, no, let me finish. Since other things have given you more factual evidence, quote unquote factual, that God does not exist, you lean towards that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there could be evidence for some proposition and then superseding evidence otherwise. It happens all the time, that there's something that is evidence for this, but then there's stronger evidence against it. Like, for example, what's a good example? Like, imagine I go outside and, well, before I go outside, I consider the probability it rained today. Or, right, imagine I go outside And the first thing I see is the clouds are gray. Oh, that's some evidence it rained today, because you expect that after it rains, the clouds are gray, or even while it's raining, or, you know, at least like a while after it rains, the gray clouds retain, right? So if you go outside and you see the clouds are gray, that is indeed some evidence it rained. It's expected on the hypothesis it rained today. But if I then go and look at the floor and see the floor is completely dry, you know, I'm going to weigh those two evidences. Obviously, the fact the floor is dry is a disexpectation on the proposition it rained today, but obviously the clouds being gray is something that is expected if it rains today. And I might do like a calculus there. I might need to consider how those two competing probabilities fare, and I think the fact the floor is just like incredibly dry is exceedingly more evidence than the clouds are gray. Maybe that's better evidence it will rain than it did. Or maybe sometimes the clouds do just become gray and don't rain. So considering the floor is dry, yeah, there is evidence otherwise, which is that the clouds are gray, but it's just exceeded by the evidence the floor is dry.
Okay, man. I don't know what to say, but I would just pray for you. It's been nice talking to you.
Okay. Thank you. We don't got no one on YouTube. Y'all gotta interact. Until you get to 10K. People on TikTok. I hate TikTok. You'll pray for me, Dawn? Oh my god. Dawn is so sweet. You'll pray for me too, Sage? Guys, pray for me. Pray for me, guys. Alright, we do got someone else on Discord. You guys gotta get the likes up. 12K on TikTok. People on YouTube also get the likes up. Oh, I forgot to make a GIF go on YouTube. People on TikTok also send me gifts. I'm not going to be on for more than an hour and a half, to be honest. What did I say? Saturday? Oh, shit. No way. It's Saturday. Fuck. I forgot I got college work. Fuck. I brought up this guest. He's connecting? Question mark? Oh my god, I can't believe I have schoolwork. And it's due tomorrow. Well, it's due Monday, so I guess I have tomorrow to do it, I mean, but...
Hello.
What are you studying? Ethics and justice, and I also have some statistics work to do. Hey, what's going on?
Hi.
I actually think I have econ work too. I might have work for literally every class I didn't do. Jesus. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, you have evidence or arguments God exists? I gotta lock in.
Yeah, I just have something kind of tangentially related. I was going to ask you about your views on more specific.
You're cutting out. Or like your mic's like going in and out.
Hold on. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's not working. Wait, what?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Nope.
Can you hear me? I heard you right there.
It must be the internet. I don't know. Hello?
Yeah, I could hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit quiet.
I could lower him down.
I don't know, this audio's not working.
But yeah, not hearing me?
Yeah, let me leave and then join again.
You need a Evil Banana on YouTube sent $2 saying you need a snarkier response to pray for you. I don't know. What should I say? Should I even retort that? Because again, those types of philosophical bullets don't pierce my Kevlar. You know who I am. I'm born out of the jargon jungle. I've adapted to every philosophical ecosystem, guys. You know this about me. I've been in the De Dicto Desert, the technical tundra, the jargon jungle, the word soup Sudan. I mean, what haven't I been in? I'm too evolved for these debate spaces, my nigga. Yeah, you there?
Yeah, I'm just I was listening in the background, so I was gonna ask you about something tangential, but probably not that specific to theism.
I'm philosophical Dracula, that's right. Sorry, go ahead.
So you're not a realist with regard to logic. You think that logic is like not real?
I actually think Platonism is unintelligible, to be honest. I don't understand those types of
explain.
Yeah, I don't understand what it means to say that abstract objects exist. The way I use ontological language, it doesn't even seem like that makes any sense by my lights.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be different kinds of ways of asserting that. Like, you could think that, like, the objects are constitutive of reality in some way, but then that's making them into concrete things. So I'm going live with a friend on Substack.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a logical realist, of course.
What motivations does he even offer for that view? Aside from the fact, I might never understand realism about abstracta, to be honest, but I mean, I could still grapple with the arguments not understanding the view. Same way like anti-realists don't understand, like, there's many anti-realists who don't even understand external normativity, but they still like grapple with the arguments for realism. Like, what exactly do they offer in motivation of that view? Oof, what the hell did I just do?
Sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
Yeah. So the arguments are like something like, these are sort of indispensable
the dispensability argument?
Frameworks.
That's so outdated. Yeah, Quine's indispensability argument has been like most philosophers, well, actually most philosophers of mathematics are for some reason, they still endorse that argument and that view of mathematical Platonism. What the hell is going on my screen now? But are we serious? Yo, TikTok Studios is pissing me the F off. I'm so sorry. Yeah, but the dispensability argument from Quine is not very good. I mean, there's views like Jody Azoni's existential deflationism or quantification of deflationism. I mean, it's a long-standing view that the dispensability argument fails because people don't accept the Quinean existential commitment assumption, right? Like, that's why there's like views like, ontologically neutral pragmatist views, like, or pragmatically neutral, ontologically neutral views, like, like fictionalism is obviously a view that allows for something to be like useful and indispensable to or like maybe like scientific studies, like mathematics might be, or logic might be indispensable to our scientific studies, which those things might track truth, assuming that and nonetheless those things don't exist. It's like consistent with like those types of things. I don't accept that the use or indispensability of a type of apparatus to type of study or whatever cause for any interest in ontological commitment. It's not even widely regarded. Actually, Phil's survey paper shows that most philosophers are actually nominalists as it stands. As for, I don't know why, I think it's like 60% of philosophers of math more specifically are Platonists. It's really strange. There's no survey on specifically philosophers of logic. People usually assume the same for logic, but it actually does not seem the same. I've read some stuff from Penelope Rush, and I don't know, maybe Graham Priest also. I'm not entirely sure about Graham Priest, but I don't think he's a realist about logic either, and he's one of the biggest contemporary philosophers of logic. But yeah, it's really fuzzy about logic, but at least philosophers more broadly as it stands do not accept realism about abstracta.
Okay. Yeah, so my friend is he's a philosopher, and he thinks that obviously his views on logic is that logic is something that's something that we discover rather than something invented, which I mean,
why would you think that? That seems straightforwardly false.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, he would agree that we develop the systems, the semantics of representing logical structure, but he doesn't think that those are non-existent. Or
I mean, like, bivalence is a norm used in classical logic, and that isn't something like that's discovered. Bivalence is a rule. It's not like it's not even a proposition. You would need, like, I mean, even then, even to like quantify over propositions, you would need like a second order logic. But bivalence is just the rule, like in classical logic, that atomic sentences have strictly either T or F. Well, bivalence says there's only two values, T or F, and then excluded middle says it's atomic sentences only carry one truth value. But those are just like rules, kind of like in a chess game, right? There's not like something about the world. They're just designed to...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Did you cut out?
Yeah, my Discord thing wasn't lighting up.
Okay. Did you hear me or no? Was I cutting out for you?
Yeah, no, I heard what you were saying. I think you were still going though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like chess. It's kind of like, or Monopoly or any of these. It's kind of like the game is defined by the rules, and the rules are not something found in the world. I mean, logic is just straightforwardly not a metaphysics. It doesn't comment on the world at all. Like even meta logic doesn't talk about like we like design these rules based off anything in the world. But there are more substantial metaphysical disputes about that, right? People might deny bivalence for reasons like, you know, people sometimes deny bivalence for reasons like, oh, there's counterexamples in the world, like indeterminacy or stuff like that, you know, about future events, or even views like Socrates' paradox, what makes a heap. You know, if you're not an epistemicist, then that's a reason to say there's a truth value of indetermination or some other third truth value. You might even think that there isn't T or F, that there's actually like there's gradients in truth and falsity, like a fuzzy logic. These are views that the logics don't talk about. If you think there's like facts of the world or stuff, like most of this, unless either you also have like a view like there's a priori synthetic facts, like a Kantian, which I'm not. I think all logical statements are analytic truths. But if you think that, maybe somehow you think you can make a priori inferences about like what, I mean, it doesn't, I don't even know, like propositions have either two truth values. Those views don't make any sense to me. Like you discover logics. I don't really know what that even means. You can have motivations to design a logic with certain rules that revolve around facts.
I guess you would articulate
it
as you discover certain inherent regularities that are inherent in nature, and then you try to map those onto the systems that you develop to make sense of them. So like there's like an actual extent thing.
Well, that's actually not true, because I'm pretty sure historically most people had metaphysical commitments in the background, like contradictions are metaphysically impossible. But classical logicians, the only reason they denied or they rather not denied, but they precluded contradictions in the formal system is because explosion, you know, the result of trivialism. And that's why no longer today, even most people today are not dialetheous. But if that were true, as it stands today, which again, there's like Phil's survey, most philosophers of logic they deny classical logic, or you could use the word, I mean, it's not technically deny, but, you know, like most philosophers of logic are actually paraconsistent logicians. They use a paraconsistent logic, which explicitly allows for contradiction. And if you look at like the general landscape of metaphysics, which I mean, again, it is different from what philosophers of logic do, but they're all philosophers, so I mean, maybe it's not entirely accurate, but you could assume they are in the same shit pile. Most metaphysicians today are not dialetheous. They don't accept, well, I guess that's philosophers of language. Some endorse weak dialetheism, like liar sentences, but as far as it seems, I don't think there's any metaphysicians who think that there could be like synthetic contradictions in the world. You might think certain self-referential sentences are examples of contradiction. Even Graham Priest himself is not a dialetheist, right? But he's like the number one, like, biggest proponent of paraconsistent logic, and he does not make it a provision of the logic that there can't be contradiction. So if that were right, because many metaphysicians, including philosophers of logic, do, either they're indifferent to contradiction and they don't see reasons to even think it's like epistemically possible, or they explicitly deny it. That would just strongly conflict with the fact that most philosophers of logic today use a logic that is just capable of having contradictions be true in some valuation.
Yeah. And this would be sort of evidence for logic
like
not being like a thing.
Yeah, I don't really understand this discover.
But it's not a thing that
even if you design a logic based off like dispositions of the world and how the world generally behaves, I don't think that itself is even a good reason to think that logics are real. You're designing the framework off of facts of the world, but that doesn't mean like logical entities exist and theorems have like their own ontology. That's what logical realism is committing you to. So I don't even understand the inference from that type of like inductive reasoning about how the world generally behaves.
It's going to be something more abstract than theorems. It's going to be like there's like a necessary structure to the world, and then all the
that sounds like metaphysics, not logic.
Develop are like an extension.
Well, that seems like a common confusion, because people who talk about metaphysical rules talk about like stuff like there's like kind of like the world precludes contradictions and that's why we don't observe it, and they make inferences about like there actually can instantiate contradictions in the world. It's like metaphysically impossible. That's different from logics are just formal systems. They do not talk about the world. Now you might think that logics exist, which actually is saying that those logical entities exist, right? That they, like there's literally like Platonic theorems or whatever else. But this type of structuralist view you're talking about sounds more like a metaphysical one. Like there's like a fact about how the world operates.
Well, yeah, it is
to preclude
it is a metaphysical
contradiction or something.
View, in the sense that it's like
right. Well, I'm saying that that's not about
the nature
logic,
of reality.
because the laws of logic aren't even proposition. So like stuff like non-contradiction isn't a proposition. If you're making statements like contradictions can obtain, right? The modality there is logical. That doesn't have anything to do with the world. That's kind of just true in virtue of bivalence and, single value atomic sentence assignment or whatever you want to call that. And I don't see how you get stuff like that from the world, that you assign a proposition a single truth value. It seems even strange to say that somehow is derived from your experience in the world, but it seems like there's a conflation between like some type of structuralist view, and you think that there's metaphysical structure and the structure operates in a way that doesn't allow for contradictions to stanchiate. That sounds more like something like Aristotle's laws of thought, because Aristotle in his own writing of logic did not make it a provision of his logic that there couldn't be contradictions. He actually had a paraconsistent logic, Aristotle's logic, but in his metaphysics, he's talked about the laws of thought, which is commonly conflated with the laws of logic, where he does give arguments and says that the real world precludes contradiction.
Right. So let's say he's using like an idiosyncratic definition of logic. Would you still object to the content of the view? Like in the sense that you think it's like trivial or like empty? Or
well, whether there's like metaphysical structure that precludes contradiction, do I think there's that type of thing? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I do.
Well, not just
I don't
contradiction,
even...
just...
Yeah, like more general stuff like maybe there is... Well, I mean, I don't understand some of these other stuff, like to say like reality is structured in a way that things are either true or false. But yeah, I mean, no, I'm not sure I accept that, to be honest. No. I mean, no, I don't accept that, but I don't even know if I'm even by any means sympathetic to thinking that way. I mean, I'm completely indifferent whether there, in fact, are contradictions in the more substantial way, like synthetic contradictions. For a long time, I have been sympathetic to there being like liar sentences being contradictions. Actually, before that, I actually used to think they're not propositional and they're like malformed sentences. But I've talked with some friends who are also philosophers of logic or study philosophy of logic, and they're like super heavy logic nerds, and they actually like went in depth, not to me, but I've seen videos with it and they've talked about it a lot, but I never paid attention much. And it was also a while back. I still have the videos on my YouTube channel, but for a long time I was incredibly sympathetic to liar sentences actually being instances of true contradictions. As of now, I'm kind of just indifferent. I still think I have some sympathies. I haven't really been doing the heavy lifting, and like I haven't really been doing my duty and educating myself about some of that stuff. But I don't know whether or not there are true contradictions in a weaker way, let alone in a more substantive way. I mean, I definitely don't endorse like a metaphysical modality and think that there's like a metaphysical structure that precludes contradictions, but I don't find myself by any means really enticed by a view like that.
Okay. So, yeah. I think, it's gonna, maybe the biggest issue that it might end up having is that it's just not going to make any sort of yeah, it's not, I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to him. Well, I already am gonna be talking to him tomorrow, so maybe I should have him come onto your server or something.
Yeah, if anything, maybe I can even have him talk to my friend Mason. Oh yeah, if anything, he could talk with Mason, if you know Mason, because that's actually one of the logic nerds I was talking about, because I don't know if Mason's still a dialetheist, but I knew he was a couple months back. His view might have changed, but actually I'm not all that confident it did change, but you know, it's a possibility. But him and I'm Sorry, I don't know if you know who that is, but those two were, for a long time, even more than proponents, they were advocating for dialetheism. But yeah, Mason's far more informed about logic and even like the metaphysics of logic as well. So if anything, I could try and talk with him a bit, but I think it would be more substantive, especially if we're talking about the decisiveness of his view. I would refer him to someone who's more informed about philosophy of logic. That would be Mason. I think Mason would be down if I asked him to do it, but we'll see if he's available or interested. If not, then I could try talking to him.
Well,
but
yeah, that might work. Although I am, you know, you might even be able to get him onto. I don't know if he's got stuff planned for tomorrow, but I know he has Substack, so he could like do it a random. That's probably a bit less practical, though.
Well, if you're like talking about making a post by Substack, I don't think he would do that. I don't know if what you mean is if there's like direct messages through Substack that you could talk with the guy, but I don't think he would just make a Substack dedicated to.
There's a live stream function.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do live streams on there, and you can invite people onto the live and have discussion or debate.
Word. I didn't know that. I don't use Substack like that. No, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My apologies. I'm not entirely familiar with Substack. I've used Substack, but I'm far from familiar with Substack, to be honest. Rarely ever use that. But all right. Is there anything else you have in mind to ask or anything, or is that it?
No, that was the main the thing. That was the thing that I was going to ask about, was how you would respond to that.
All right.
That
I also might,
or that.
I actually don't think, if it's tomorrow too, I don't think I'll be free. Not only because I have mat school work, but I might be hanging out with family. So now that I think about it, I have mad work to do for school, in fact. But I'll see if I have time. If not, it would be better anyways to get Mason to talk with him.
Okay.
Yeah, word. All right, well, thanks for coming up.
Sure. It was fun.
Have a great one. Let's see what we got to. It was... The sub only was a EMP. People here, y'all are so slow with getting the likes up. I'm seriously... Check Cash App. You sent me money on Cash App? No, you didn't. I didn't get anything on Cash App.
So sad. What's happening, Monkey Boy?
Didn't. Is that the $5? Thank you for the $5. Very much appreciated. Taco. Taco is funny. I like Taco. What's going on, Godsword? What do you got? You got evidence or arguments?
Well, I'm actually using your last evidence. You said that you have 2% belief that God does exist, right?
I have what?
A 2% possibility or belief that God does exist. That's what you stated last time we spoke.
I don't remember ever saying that.
Well, I'll just ask you just to refresh your memory. Can you 100% as an atheist state that God doesn't exist?
No.
Exactly. Why not?
Well, to say that it's 100% false in probability just means that it's contradictory. I don't think bare theism entails a contradiction.
But that is
Thank
the
you,
claim of
Hydrated, for the
atheism,
6
right?
jewels. Atheism is the proposition God doesn't exist. It's not that theism is impossible.
Well, that would make you an agnostic. And the interesting thing about agnosticism,
no.
John Buxley, he was against atheism. So do you have any way to show
Agnosticism
that
is indifferent to the proposition. Agnosticism is being indifferent to the proposition God exists. I do affirm the proposition God doesn't exist.
That's like the Big Bang Theory, right? Once you start stating that you believe in a thing, then you're confined to the beliefs of the original people who created the thing. So John Buxley is totally against that concept of atheism. He said it's idiocy or moronic to a certain degree.
Okay. Cool for that guy. Not sure what his opinion really matters.
So if you yourself is a quote-unquote atheist who's asking for the best evidence that God exists, the nature of God or the definition of God would be the creator of all things, right? The mind or the spirit, whatever that creates all things. What do you have to say that we're not created or we are emergent or something like that?
I don't have reasons to think a mind created everything.
Well, what reasons do we have to say that how we exist? How did life come to existence?
Not sure.
So your argument or your belief system is based upon ignorance?
No. Also, real quick, yo, Tacos, you got blown out. I'm not trying to like dick measure, but you sent $5 and then Evan sent 50 right after. Damn. Thank you very much, Evan. Both of you, in fact. I really do appreciate it. 50 is crazy, though. Thank you, Evan. I really do appreciate that. No, I'm not saying I'm ignorant. I mean, theism, being an atheist doesn't commit me to being like, or doesn't commit me to need to explain these particular things. I mean, I might not have an explanation be reserved explanatorily for these facts, and I can, you know, offer reasons for why I can rule out theism as an explanation.
All right, so let's do a basic assessment of how you believe life come into existence. It's either emergent, as far as it came into existence over a period of time, or it was created at one point in time by a higher being. Which one would you believe is the better explanation?
That the universe came, you said the universe is emergent or came about by a higher being? Is that right?
Life. Either it will be emergent from your perspective, if you're not sure about a God, or from the other perspective, it will be a higher being that created all things.
Yeah, I'm more confident in a non-design hypothesis.
But that would mean that your own intellect would still be emergent. You can't trust your own intellect if it's not coming from a top down, right? It's still in the process of evolution.
I can't trust my own intellect?
No, because you're still emerging. You're emergent. And therefore, you have to continue emerging as you go along. You're not going to get it from the top down. You have to get it from the bottom up as far as knowledge.
I'm not sure what any of what you're saying is. Really, not sure what you're saying.
It means that basically atheists are ignorant, and you're showing it. Even the fact you don't understand the argument is showing it. You don't understand the emergence quality of the concept of evolution. You don't understand the emergence quality of the Christian fallacy that you guys have, the Catholic fallacy you guys have with the Big Bang Theory. It's getting bad, yo. You atheists have nothing to stand on. What is a woman, by the way? Let's just define terms from the atheist paradigm.
Well, I don't think woman has a definition. I think it's a cluster concept. So there's like a set of traits that fall within the feminine social archetype, that a weighty amount of traits in the cluster are sufficient to say that one's a woman. But why are you asking me what's a woman? What does that have to do with philosophy or religion? Why a God exists?
Because it's very difficult to try to pass along information about the supernatural if somebody doesn't understand what's real in front of them right now, today. I mean, you came from a woman, right? So by the concept of what a woman is, and I believe most people are just mad at the doctors, can a man become a woman, or a woman become a man? Or can somebody who is born biologically male
what does this have to do with the topic?
I just want to know if you understand reality.
Look, let's try and stay on topic. So I don't have reason, again, like I think the non-design hypothesis is less likely. Or sorry, it's more likely. The design hypothesis is less likely.
Non-design hypothesis is actually, it leaves too many gaps inside it, right? So you have to say why you don't have bee's eyes. You have to say why you don't have the flight of the eagle. Why the cat doesn't, why hasn't the cat at some point in time been able to get gills if this is emergent? And what is the process of emergence? So you're still left with huge logical gaps, and therefore atheism stands on ignorance.
Yeah, as an atheist, you don't have to explain those facts. It's a common fallacy that people make because they use theism as an explanatory resource for a collection of data, and that because they have an available candidate explanation, they expect that the atheist compensates by providing their own account if they deny theism. But that's actually not how that works. If you understand basic tenets of philosophy of explanation, you can rule out explanations like theism without having your own explanation available to accommodate the datum. You could just be indifferent to what explains the fact, but have good reasons to think God doesn't exist and God doesn't explain it. So I could just be entirely unclear what explains those facts, but I'm still warranted in being an atheist nonetheless.
Well, at this point in time, it's not even about you, right? So let's say the scientists who have provided you the theorems to dispute that God exists, all right? Abiogenesis, that's going back to the book of Genesis, right? Big Bang Theory, that goes back to the Catholics. And according to the Pope, it coincides with the story of Genesis or something like that. So you're back at Genesis again. So every time you try to figure out where life comes from an atheistic standpoint, you're stuck within a biblical confine.
All right, thank you for that. Now, take what you said to heart and really, really reconsider it. Thank you for all of that. I'll really take that to heart and consider it all in my free time. Jeebus. What are we doing? What is we doing, gang? Friend. Hey, what's going on?
What's up? Not a whole lot. I'm just talking to this atheist online. I would like to go back to something you said and tell me if I got it wrong. You were talking about, let me see if I can put it how you word it. You said that bare theism, it requires less evidence. Then you said that like proving Christianity requires more specific evidence. But then you had me, but you lost me at a certain point. Is that about what you said?
No, I wasn't saying that it has or needs more evidence. What I was saying is that, hold on real quick. Evil Banana, thanks again for another $2. Keep going, baby. I'm almost emerging. See, that's a good one. But, yeah, what I was saying is that specificity lowers the probability, right? And that's just because the standard penalty called conjunctive inequality. Because when you have two propositions that are less than 1 but greater than 0 and you multiply them, because that's what a conjunction is, their probabilities are less than. And I said that when you get evidence for a more specific variation of a proposition, the conditional probability of that proposition cannot exceed its bare hypothesis. And that's just like a standard rule in probability theory.
Okay, so it's just they cannot exceed. I thought you were trying to say something else. Because I believe that they can equal each other at a certain point when they intersect.
That cannot be true.
I can give an example. Okay, well, let me give an example. Okay, let's say that you don't believe parrots exist, right? And let's say you also, of course, you're not going to believe that the African gray parrot exists. But if I prove to you that the African gray parrot exists, I bring it to a 0 because I prove that parrots exist and also true. That African gray parrots exist. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but it's not right, because in Kolmogorov probability, which is standard probability apparatus that undergirths Bayesian confirmation theory, it's and pretty much any probability theory for that fact, 0, the probability of 0 is equivalent to a contradiction. So it's a proposition that either is a contradiction or entails one. So a proposition's being false are not a probability of 0. They're still going to have some probability greater than 0. They might have a trivial probability. So it might be like, you can even imagine it could be like 0.000001 or something, right? But it cannot be 0 unless, because then that just means it's not in the possibility space.
Okay, well, I was maybe using the wrong language for that. What I'm trying to say is there's no difference of the probability of them both existing at the point, because parrots exist and the gray parrot exists in the gray parrot itself. So I guess what I'm saying is they intersect right there, and well, it actually I'm not entirely equal.
I didn't track your example with the parrot again, so I'm not entirely clear what was the point with the parrot thing. But like if I have reasons to think that a particular bird is a parrot, there's still going to be like some probability that it's not, right? It's just possible it's not a parrot. And there might be evidences that strongly confirm that it is a parrot. But what happens is it's called, this type of inferential reasoning is called elimination induction, where you can treat the probability space as a reservoir. And what you do is you take from you take either from one proposition or a set of propositions probability, and what you do is you take it and you give it to another, or you're just distributing probabilities. You don't either make values evaporate, nor can you create them like magic. So what's going on is the probabilities are going to be pulled from other propositions to make this particular proposition more likely, right? For example, if I had the proposition it's a pigeon, right, it's less expected on the proposition it's a pigeon that, for example, imagine the parrots talk or the birds talking, right? Let's say that's some evidence it's a parrot. So it's still going to have a probability greater than 0 that it's a pigeon. But given the datum that it's talking, that's more greatly expected on the bird being a pigeon. So the conditional probability of a pigeon is going to be significantly, the credence in that's going to significantly increase considering that information. But the probability of it being a pigeon cannot be 0 because it's still a logical possibility.
So basically, you're saying that if I do find an African gray parrot, then even if I prove, quote unquote, prove it, there's still going to be a probability that's not an African gray parrot. Then the idea of an actual parrot existing is still higher than an African gray parrot specifically existing. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because of those variables of it not maybe not.
Right.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's maybe getting too. I don't know. It's maybe being too. But you can do whatever you want. You understand what I'm saying? I think that's maybe getting too technical about it, maybe in a way. But that's fine. But maybe you're right to feel that way. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think that maybe goes maybe overkilling it. But that's I'm not saying you're wrong though.
Okay.
But I guess that's where I was going to go to the idea of God. If you prove that the Christian God exists, then you also prove theism at the same time is what I was trying to get at. So to me, this I feel like you can kill two birds with one stone. Like to believe, let's say, I'm the strongest. I'm strong. I make a claim that I'm strong, and I also make a claim that I can lift 500 pounds. Let's say you don't believe both, but if I lift 500 pounds, then I complete both claims. The fact that I am strong and that I can lift 500 pounds, which the claim of being strong would be more likely than the claim of lifting 500 pounds. You understand what I'm saying? But I still prove them both at one time. So I don't, to me, there's not really enough probability in there to make any sort of difference that really would matter, if you understand what I'm saying. So if I was able to prove that a Christian God exists through the Bible 100%, then I feel like that proves deism to its necessary amount, if that makes any sense, to be logically viable.
Well, if you prove...
Because it points from...
I mean, if this type of... I guess it depends on how the way you're saying it. I mean, if you just prove theism, Christian theism, then yeah, you've proven Christian theism. But if you justify most of what Christian theism says, which is not question begging, again, at best that would make Christian theism far more likely, but still less than bare theism. And there's a question of whether bare theism is greater antecedently than naturalism.
Well, I guess I feel like if you do prove Christian theism, because you're proving atheism, so that would prove the full theism too, the bare theism at the same time, if you understand what I'm saying. That's basically what I'm saying. You're proving them both.
Well, if I justify... bare theism is going to be it's just going to be far more likely. So if what you're saying is trivial. Like if I prove Christianity, then I prove theism, simpliciter, obviously. But if what I do is I strongly confirm Christianity, that doesn't show that theism is true, is what I'm saying.
Well, I guess I can't. I don't really follow that. I follow most of what you said. I like some of the stuff that you put out there because not like your logic that you use. I like it better than other people's because a lot of people, I feel their logic is illogical. You know what I'm saying? Some of the logic you're giving, but I think go off for me on that part, that end part. But I like what you're saying up to that part. If you understand the last little bit. But maybe I'm confusing something or missing something. That's possible. But also another thing I'd like to say would be, if that's all right, about so to me, the world, of course, exists, right? Universe, it's obvious these things exist. But to me, as far as I can tell, you need a supernatural or an unobservable explanation to come to where we are right now. So I think that is best answered in God, but I don't know where because people have different views on this. But I guess let me just first by ask you this question. It's maybe easier to get to it. Do you believe the universe is eternal, or do you believe it's like a finite, like it has a beginning?
I actually don't have a view on that matter. I'm indifferent.
Okay. So we have I'm sure you know more about this stuff than me, but we have the idea of, well, basically it's considered like a law. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know exactly where to point to it, but the idea that like matter and energy cannot be destroyed or created. Do you believe this in our physical world?
I've heard there's some qualifiers for that. I'm not really sure about the physics, to be honest, so I don't really have a comment on that. I'm not informed about any of that, to be honest. I'm not like a science guy.
Oh, okay. Well, as far as I can tell, that seems consistent because I've never seen any example of matter being destroyed within the physical world, and I know of no way to create it. So within our world, with our abilities and physics abilities, it seems like it's impossible for it to be created or to be destroyed. So that there's only two options. I've realized people are honest enough to realize this. Matter either has to be eternal or it has to be created. Those are the only two options. But if matter becomes eternal, there's an issue because you have entropy. So that means like an eternal universe with eternal matter, we would already be at the stage where life would be impossible because in an eternal universe, because entropy happens in a finite amount of time. So that's where like the final end of heat death, right? So that would mean that we would already be, if the universe is eternal, we would already be in heat death and we would not exist. Life would be impossible because there would be no more energy left to do work. So that means at this point, as far as I can tell, that means the universe has to come into existence at a point and be created because energy cannot be created or destroyed under our rules. So that means we need something outside of this universe, some sort of power or ability beyond what's capable under these confines. If you understand what I'm saying, because it cannot be eternal, and matter cannot be eternal because entropy would already have happened. And so that means it needs to be created. So that needs something bigger than what's in the universe because there's no way of creating or destroying that we know of.
The available infinitist models that are popular today in cosmology do away with entropy because they say that there's cycles where the entropy goes backwards, right? Like Big Bounce and Crunch or whatever else cosmological theories that are not steady state. Because steady state is heavily in conflict with the entropy stuff you're saying, but views that are not steady state theory, which is pretty much most of the only prevalent infinitist views in cosmology to date, as far as I'm aware, entropy is no issue for that. This thing about the matter having a cause or something, or the universe having a cause stuff, kind of just sounds incoherent to me, because I don't really understand atemporal causation, what it means for time to have a cause. That just sounds incoherent. But yeah.
I don't have a cause. Well, you're talking about, what is it? You're talking about, I'm not saying this was your idea, but about, what do you call it? Entropy playing ping pong with itself. But where on earth is the observation? That's where I came to. There has to be an unobservable event or an unobservable or a supernatural something. Because we don't see entropy reversing itself. So it's just made, you understand? It's unobservable. There's no proof to that. I don't even know why someone would come up with that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't even, there's no proof of that I know of, or anything to indicate that, if you understand what I'm saying, that it's going to bounce back on itself.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's evidence for that, but the point is that infinitist models don't have that issue with entropy nonetheless, given what they are actually saying.
Well, I tried to look and see
what some of these... Is Taco still here? Yeah, I'm not a cosmology guy either, so I'm not per se best suited for this talk. So if
well, then how do you come to, if you don't look at anything like cosmology or anything like that, like how do you come to the idea that atheist is the best? I feel like you have to have some sort of evidence or reasoning behind it, because I'm trying to give you like my reasoning and my understanding, and I feel it's best rooted. It's good to root some of your ideas in the natural world.
Well, I don't see what having an explanation for that stuff does really for theism anyways, but...
Well, as I laid it out, it kind of requires it's necessity. Unless someone can provide proof of like the ping pong entropy or whatever, but there's nothing really to prove it. You know, if you understand what I'm saying. But as far as
I don't know what the motivations are, so I'm not sure if that's right. But at best, I think the motivations would probably be far greater than the independent motivations to think God exists in any case. But
no, I'm saying as if you look at
it's
the
not like we have
evidence where
independent motivations to think that like God would have the desires for the facts that we claim he would realize, that he would have desires to create a world adjacent to this one.
I mean, he could create different worlds, then we believe that
but my point is we don't have independent motivations to think if a God existed, he would have the desires to create a world adjacent to this.
Well, I don't know that I said there would be a world adjacent to this one. He could if he wanted to, I suppose.
Right, but I'm just saying that when it comes to independent motivations for stuff like bounce entropy or whatever, the type of story they give to dissolve entropy issues, it seems like those are going to be more supported than there's going to be more independent motivation for that than independent motivation if a God did exist. He would have the types of value profile and psychology theists say he does.
You're listening with independent motivation. What do you mean by independent motivation? Who has this? Or is it
independent reasons to think that.
So independent reasons why they think that it bounces back. Well, to me, okay, I'm looking at the world for the way it's going. Entropy is going the other direction, which I don't see any reason why it would go the other way, because it's the way it has always gone and it keeps going. And I also realize that energy and matter cannot be destroyed within our universe by physical means, any kind of way. So
right, well,
I'm looking at what is. I'm looking at what is, not something that I can. I'm going by what I see, right. And I see.
Maybe you should talk with. Maybe you should talk with. There's a physicist on this app. He does lives pretty regularly. His name's Dr. Blitz. I think this is more of his forte.
Okay. Well, then how do you get to atheism without looking at these type of things? How do you get there? That's where I'm confused.
Well, I don't think these things offer leverage for theism, but the general probability stuff I already said still manages with this. I mean, you could stalking horse the God explanation in any case. I mean, there's various ways to explanatorily manage this type of stuff. And like said,
doesn't necessarily, I would say probability, I don't know, that doesn't seem to prove anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you understand what I'm saying. It doesn't.
Right, well, I'm going to let you go here, though, because I do have some other guests. Yeah, word.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Peace out. Is Taco not here?
So, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me, Lotte?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Also, do you want to engage with the argument for God, Lotte, or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah, so premise 1, a modal system contains operators for necessity, possibility, and kind of actual to do. At premise 2, a modal system is non-degenerate. These operators do not. What are you laughing for?
It's just you stuttered a lot. Are you on the
how did I
channel?
stutter? Go ahead, tell me how I stuttered. This Lotte just said that I stuttered. I didn't even stutter. It's just called speaking fast, Lotte. You can't even engage. So what was premise one? Go ahead. What was premise one? Look at him. He's getting rhetorically backshotted right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting rhetorically backshotted. Look, you're on the wrong shuttle. You're supposed to be.
Oh, you're scared. Look at him, guys. He doesn't want to engage. So
what's
premise one?
And you're obviously on the stutter shuttle.
No, I wasn't even stuttering. That's called speaking fast.
Right tracks. You're not tracking because you're on the stutter shuttle.
All right. So what's premise one?
You're not looking
What was
good.
premise one? He couldn't even track premise one, chat. He couldn't even track premise one because he's such a low. He doesn't actually want to engage. He doesn't even want to engage. We didn't die. Look at him. He's running. He's running. Okay, so chat. Notice how he doesn't want to engage. He doesn't want to talk about the topic, right? He just wants to run away and he wants to divert. Right? That's okay. That's what Lotus is like you do. Right, so do you want to continue to engage with the argument, or do you want to keep on running away? Do you want to keep on running, or you want to keep on running? Okay, I can give you the argument.
Abstract.
Do you want to keep on running?
This is the jargon jungle.
Look at him, guys. He's running away. He doesn't want to engage, right? So okay, so I'll continue saying my premises, right? Because clearly he doesn't want to engage and he's scared, right? So premise 3 of a motor system, we're degenerate. The distinction between what is necessary, what is possible, and what is counterfactually fixed, will collapse, and motor reasoning, what is structure, right? Premise 4, the more your no-scope constraint states that the determinant of the motor operator matrix must not be equal to 0. Premise 5, if the determinant of the motor operator matrix were equal to 0, the motor operators would be linearly dependent, and the distinction between necessity and possibility would be destroyed, right? And we have like 13 more premises to go. So do you want to continue engaging, or do you want to run away? So can you name one of the premises I just said? Go ahead.
I think I've already devoured you. I don't know. Do you still?
I don't think you have. I don't think you're actually engaging with the substance. I think you're just running away.
Yeah.
Because you're a little loto. So do you want to engage or what?
I don't know. It seems like your thoughts are like epiphenomenal to the conversation.
So you don't actually want to engage within the dialectic. So, guys, this is just proof that Monkey Boy is a fraud, right? He doesn't actually know logic. He doesn't know about Morin logic, right? He doesn't know anything, right? He's just a fraud on freaking TikTok.com. It's embarrassing. Literally. So, do you want to hear the rest of the premises, Lotio? Or no? Actually, can you name one
I'm going to give you this opportunity.
Can you restate one premise?
Yeah, this is word salad. You've been on a diet.
Oh, it's word salad. Look at him, guys. So he can't engage. He can't engage in the dialectic. So it's called word salad.
Some like
he couldn't engage, guys. We didn't even get to the conclusion. We didn't even get to the conclusion, chat. We didn't even get to the conclusion, and he's already running away.
Because if not, you're gonna get sticked in this conversation.
We couldn't even get to the conclusion. He's so scared of me.
A nice piece of wood right through you. It's like my wood's
okay, so you couldn't engage. Look at him, guys. This is what happens when you get intellectually demolished. He got absolutely slammed into the floor. Literally,
so I'm gonna just let you go here, just because out of the goodness of my heart. Are we on? We good?
Yo, Loto, literally, you couldn't even engage, and you look at you.
All right, I'm gonna do that solid. That was funny. I like his accent.
Hello.
What's going on? I think you're gonna be the last guest because I do gotta get off. What's up?
Okay. Have you heard of the cosmological argument?
The what?
Have you heard of the cosmological argument?
That's a class of argument. Do you mean the Kalam cosmological argument, or which cosmological argument?
Yeah, the Kalam.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know the argument.
So, what's your common objection with it? Whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore it has a cause.
Yeah, I don't accept both of those premises, but what I find is an issue with the stage 2 argument anyways. Because like if I assume the conclusion, we just assume that the universe has a cause, it's not clear what the inference to theism even is there. But if you want, I could just talk about my issues with the stage 1 argument.
Okay, let me try to provide some support for each premise. First premise, whatever begins to exist has a cause. Metaphysical first principle. Something cannot come from nothing. Out of nothing, nothing comes.
If you're endorsing
premise
like
number
a
2.
causal principle, I don't accept that.
Premise number 2, the universe began to exist. The point here is that the actual infinity cannot exist. It is recognized and acknowledged by Hilbert. It's like he's like the most greatest mathematician in the 20th century.
Hilbert stuff has been long-standing in philosophy, not taken serious. Like Malpass and Wes Morriston have long-stand put it in the ground. In fact, almost like roughly 15% of cosmologists today endorse infinitism, so it's less of an abstract concern now, and serious like philosophers of physics are saying that the universe actually has infinite past events. But yeah, those follow stuff like, well, usually those conflate the types of infinities, but they usually follow foul stuff like the pair unsatisfiable diagnosis. There's a couple other objections that people make too, that Malpass and others make.
So what's your objection that's preventing you from believing on it?
What, the Hilbert stuff? Like Bernodetti paradox stuff?
The overall kalam.
Oh yeah, I just told you I don't accept that the metaphysical principle that everything that begins to exist has a cause. That's number
Why?
one. Right, because there's no argument for it.
It's a principle in metaphysics, and if you will argue
it's not like a Poplar one, by the way. I think you're overestimating how philosophers endorse it.
Okay, if you will argue that something can come from nothing, then provide me how can it happen?
No, it's just logically possible. I don't know what metaphysical modality is, but yeah, it's like trivially
It's a principle
logically
of the
possible.
metaphysics. You
Sorry?
provide some support why it is logically possible. You cannot say that it's probable, it's possible. You cannot destroy an argument by the
No, it's
probability
logically
of it.
possible because when you do a conceptual analysis, it doesn't entail contradiction.
What? So you believe the universe just pop out of existence, no cause?
Well, there's a difference between not having a cause and popping into existence. Like, God doesn't pop into existence, but also God has... Well, on your view, you think God probably causes himself, which just violates the standard... Funny enough, you're talking about causal principle. The standard conception of causation has 3 relational rules, which is asymmetry, transitivity, and irreflexivity. So causes cannot be the cause of themselves. So unless you're talking about an account of cause that cause itself makes any sense, which makes even less sense than something not having a cause, then with that account, I could say the universe just causes itself. I don't see how that's not an available option I'm afforded. But no, I don't think that God can cause himself. In that case, then you think God also doesn't have a cause and he doesn't pop into existence. You can think the same of the universe. It just exists. There's no cause.
No, he didn't cause himself. If there's a...
And that's inconsistent with the PSR, the explanatory principle and the causal principle that... Oh, you think because God doesn't have a beginning, is that right?
Yes, God doesn't have a beginning because we need a first cause and cause, and that points us to God.
Yeah, you can think the universe... I mean, in a trivial sense, the universe is always going to exist, right? Because it's just going to be present in every moment of time trivially. So I don't even know what it means for the universe to pop into existence. That's just straightforward.
So if the universe were... do you believe that the universe is eternal?
You mean whether I'm an infinitist?
Yeah.
No, I'm not an infinitist.
See. So if you believe in a finite beginning of the world, then
I'm
what's
not
before
an
it?
infinitist either. There's not a before the universe. That isn't... That's
So
just...
what are you?
Are you serious? What's before time? The first moment of time?
No,
Obviously
because
nothing.
if the universe has a cause, the space, time,
I don't
and
accept
matter,
the universe has a
the
cause.
Earth must be beyond. What?
I don't accept the universe as a cause. I don't accept it as a beginning either. I don't accept if it had a beginning, it would have a cause. I don't accept
you
it's
believe that the
metaphysically
universe
everything that begins to
created-
exist as a cause.
So you believe that the universe created itself?
No. I already told
So what?
you that.
What? What do you believe then?
Sorry, it's just... I don't believe the universe has a cause, that's it.
Oh, so do you believe that the universe began finite time ago? You are not an infinitist, and you are not a finitist. So what do you really
indifferent.
believe then?
I'm indifferent.
What the hell? Bro, are you trolling? I think you're
No.
just trolling.
I'm not trolling. I don't have a view
So
on
what do you believe
whether or
then?
not-
What do you believe then? I asked you
What
if
does
you
that
are
ask me?
a finitist. No, you
I
said
just told you
no.
I'm
I asked
indifferent.
you if you are infinitist. You
Right.
said no.
Hmm.
So what do you what do you believe how the universe came to being?
That's just a loaded question. I don't accept the universe came to being.
So why is there something? Why is the universe something rather than nothing?
That's not explained by God either, because God exists, and what explains why God exists?
No, answer,
What explains why God's something rather than nothing? I don't believe the universe has a cause.
So what do you believe?
I don't believe that the universe has a cause. I don't know what you're what more are you asking me? I mean, sounds like I'm answering.
So how did the universe come out of existence? So how did the universe came in existence?
I don't accept it came into existence. The same way you don't think God came into existence, I don't see reasons to think that the universe came into existence.
So can you provide logical support? To be fair, because I provided logical support for my belief,
support for what?
It is fair that you must provide it.
Support for what?
Proof that the universe don't have a cause.
I'm not claiming the universe has a cause. I mean, I don't even understand what's the theory of causation that makes sense of the universe having a cause. Yeah, I don't even know the theory of causation that makes it even that the universe is sensitive to having a cause. I have no clue what theory of causation even allows for the universe to have a cause. I've never once heard an intelligible account of cause that makes sense of the universe having a cause. That's my one thing. I don't even think it makes any sense to say the universe has a cause. It just sounds unintelligible, whatever notion of cause you're working with.
It is a principle in metaphysics. It is absolute. Sir,
no, it's not.
Nothing.
And this is not true. You keep saying that, but most metaphysicians... No, most metaphysicians do not accept the PSR. That's not true. You're just running with what apologists say, but that's besides the point.
Provide me metaphysicians. Provide me metaphysicians that doesn't believe in the first principle of metaphysics.
First principle of metaphysics? You mean not accept the PSR? Yeah, I mean, I could tell you, I mean, Daniel Linford, he's a metaphysician, philosopher of physics, denies the causal principle, the PSR more generally. I mean, most philosophers today... He
denies that nothing comes from something. That something cannot come from nothing.
He denies it's necessary that everything has a sufficient reason.
Oh, that is not the first principle we are talking of...
He also denies the causal principle that... yeah, if something has a beginning, it has a cause. He doesn't accept that either.
Can you provide me evidence?
Wait, no, you could just do your own research into him. He says it explicitly on like videos with like Phil Harper. He has like many interviews. He actually has a video where he goes over what is it? He goes over or was it Malpass actually?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was him that he goes over why he denies the causal principle. I think it's even in response to like William Lane Craig.
Tell me one thing in the world. Tell me something in the world that came from nothing.
No. I'm not claiming there's examples.
So based on
I'm not saying there's something that came from nothing.
This is just clear that the first principle of metaphysics, because it is observed in our world. You cannot tell me that something came from nothing in our world.
I don't grant you that either.
Why so?
Because I don't have reasons to. What type of question is that? I don't have reasons to accept what you're saying. Jesus Christ. Dude, why are you so confident in this
you said all
metaphysical principle that's incredibly controversial? You think like people are metaphysicians are far more confident in... It's absolute? What does that mean? Do you really think most metaphysicians accept the causal principle? I don't think that's true. I could search it up right now.
I ask you based on observations to tell me if something came from nothing in our world, and you cannot provide me that.
Because I never claimed that, so why would I support a claim I don't believe? What? That's like saying,
because you
prove to me
reject
God doesn't exist.
Because you reject that something cannot come from nothing.
Yeah, because it's logically possible. I don't know what the metaphysical modality is.
Okay, so what you observe in this world, based on observations in the world, can something came from nothing? Can a chair pop out of existence because it has no cause? It cannot.
Okay, cute. I don't accept that.
Okay, I'm just gonna live because you don't have any arguments and any to say anymore.
It doesn't seem
You're
you
just
have any
saying, I don't
arguments.
accept that. I don't guarantee that. I don't
Well,
accept
yeah, you
that.
don't
I
have
don't
arguments
guarantee
for
that.
anything you're saying anyways, so...
I provided you logical supports. And
No,
you
you didn't.
stated that based on observations in the world, something cannot come from nothing, and yet you deny the principle of metaphysics.
Well, you never
First
gave an argument for
principle.
that. You never gave the argument for that.
I provided the principle of the metaphysics.
You never gave an argument for that. Yeah, you said it's in principle true metaphysically that everything that begins to exist has a cause. I challenged that claim, and you never delivered an argument in favor of that claim. So there's no motivation for me to accept that.
I asked you if you can observe in this world. I asked you if you can name something
You're
in this
supposed to
world.
deliver an argument. You're supposed to deliver an argument, not supposed
This
to
is
be
an
asking me
argument.
anything.
This is an argument.
Asking me to show you examples of something that doesn't have a cause is not an argument for you. You're supposed to deliver an argument for the metaphysical principle.
That something, since you
First,
stated...
I think you're confusing inductive reasoning with metaphysical necessity. That's number one. But secondly...
Can you please listen? Just for a bit. Can you please just listen for a bit?
Oh my god, you're too stupid. I don't even want to deal with it. Loki, I'm just going to end it here anyways. I'm going to bounce. I'll be on... not tomorrow. Right? Probably not. I'm not even entirely sure if I'm going to be on tomorrow. If you haven't already, go to my newest video, give it a like, comment, use the hype feature. If it's there, it goes on and off. If you don't know what the hype feature is, I don't mean like go, yo, hype up this video. It's literally a button that's a star near the comment section. It works better than the like buttons to do that. Other than that, I do have a new video coming up. It's pretty good. Other than that, I don't know if I have anything to say. Thank you everyone who gifted to me. Tacos, Evan especially. I'll shout out those. Evil Banana sent a lot, and Z-Corp Alpha. And there's other gifters on the other live. I'm not going to be able to see who gifted me from there. Tacos is not here because I can't reply on Cash App, unfortunately, which is so strange. It doesn't allow me to message you. But if anyone who knows who Tacos is, you probably know what they've asked, or at least something very similar. Their question was, quote unquote, how long is it? Since I'm such a nice guy, I'll answer how long is it. The answer is 2 centimeters. No joke. No. There you go, Taco. I hope you're satisfied. I don't know if that's disappointing or that gets you excited, but I did answer whether or not you're here. I can't respond and catch up, so yeah, peace out, guys. Peace out, peace out. I'm not going to take up any more of your time.